There's nobody that builds building in this Lagos State that will tell you when they built it for 6 months or a year, government never came to inspect. It's not possible. Even in the innermost part of any gated estate, they will find their way there. For a building to have gotten to roof level, the government is complicit in whatever illegality that is challenging them for. Look at all the demolitions that are happening across Lagos State. And it's not just demolition. Land appropriation happens after that. So when you go and listen to the Ekpe people, the Ikodu people, the Bejuleki people, the Badagi people, and ask them what the people stealing their land. Stealing. It is these people that are in power. They've announced 5 new islands that they're going to sandfill to address the housing issue in Lagos State. The moment you start to sandfill a building, you have already set the price and the target market as very rich people that can afford expensive property. 70% of the Lagosians cannot afford that kind of property. That's why we are seeing people living under the bridge, paying 250,000 naira. If you really want to solve housing problem, you go and build on solid land. We'll actually calculated, so you can discount the price of land and bring the price of the property down.
Welcome to VOP Exclusive with Precious. Thank you so much for joining us. So today on VOP Exclusive, we have someone whom I've been chasing like a shadow, but I still couldn't catch him. You know, like a shadow, you technically can't, right? And he was the former, or still was the 2023 governorship candidate for the Labour Party in the 2023 election. And he's an architect, if I remember. And I like the fact that, you know, he's quite grounded. Well, for someone like us, a lot of us didn't think that he came into the limelight in 2023 or during this, past election. But others will say, like, we've heard a bit about him before that, but we're here to talk about it. And perhaps he'll tell us more about him, and we get to also know what he's been up to after the election or post-election, as it were. My name is Precious Enyi. Welcome to VOP Exclusive. So with me in the studio is Rhodes Vivour. As I said, I already did introduce him with his portfolio before, so I would rather say architect Rhodes Vivour. Welcome to the studio. Thank you for joining us. This time when you know me in a pidgin English that you speak.
No.
Now don't switch. We know how to do this both ways. All right. So welcome. Thank you. I'd like to know, how's life been after the election, post-election?
Well, it's had its ups and downs. Okay. Obviously, there's the trauma.
You were traumatic? No. Okay.
Let me explain.
Okay.
You see, there is a concept of democracy and there's a concept of power.
Okay.
And you either get power through the barrel of a gun or through voting.
Yeah.
Through the ballot box. Right? And one is...
The former I really can't tell, but sounds very African. It's it.
Yeah. And one is the civilized way of ensuring that the people have a say in leadership. Not just in people having a say in leadership, but people go through a correctional process to evolve quality leadership, which implies if you serve and you serve well, the people will send you back.
Absolutely.
And if you serve and you don't serve well, the people will withdraw you.
Meaning the people having a say.
Yeah, so it's a feedback loop. So if for a second you don't dwell on the politician or the political party and understand the process that's supposed to be at the root of it, which is the power of the people to determine the quality of governance that they have, then you see how shortchanged the people have been. Right? Because that natural process creates quality leadership.
But do you think the people already actually understand that they've been shortchanged? It's one thing to actually be shortchanged. It's another thing to understand that you've been shortchanged. You think they do understand?
They do. I think more so than in any other election I've ever been involved with. So that's the first thing. So going back to traumatized conversation.
Yes, please.
I saw people that for the first time, because I started this journey in politics since like 2015, 2016.
That's why I mentioned that they may think it came into limelight in 2023.
Yeah,
exactly.
When I ran for local government chairman. So I've seen the way people behave towards politicians, their idea of, just reaching out and taking whatever they can because they do not believe that they are going to have to see that politician again in 4 years, right? And what we saw in this election was a people that were woken up, that were hopeful,
So you think there was that awareness and
There
consciousness?
was a huge awareness. There was a huge amount of hope. There were people that believed that in participating in this process, they will get a good quality leadership that can elevate the quality of their lives.
So you think people really yearned for that?
Yes, they did. And you see it in the turnout. You see it in the people that came out for rallies. I mean, we're mobilizing people without mobilizing people, right?
Without mobilizing, in the other way of mobilizing people.
Exactly.
Right?
Mobilizing people without mobilizing, in terms of giving them money and sharing it, all of that.
So you had a structure without having a structure. You know how a structure is like in government or politics?
Yes. I mean, and our supporters really stepped up to really fill that gap. But where I'm going to is this. Seeing all that hope and then seeing a group of people force themselves on people through violence, through intimidation, corrupting traditional elite, having them declare Oro during the day, having them move Oro when elections are postponed, having them do Oro during the day on election day, kings that are supposed to be noble, that are supposed to be preserving the royal seat of their forebears, people that their history goes back before there was a Lagos, being belittled like that because of politics and politicians. That was traumatizing because I'm a student of Lagos history. I love Lagos. I love history comes down from my great-great-grandfather coming down. We know what Lagos used to be. We know what our traditional elite represents in Lagos. And unfortunately, politics has corrupted the entire system. So there's that level. Then there is a sheer level of violence that people experience all across Lagos. This was not a situation where it was pockets of violence. It may be a Jeremy Feludu, Woshudi Solo. No. In Ikeja there was violence. In Lekki there was violence. In Ikoyi there was violence.
But is there anything different that you've ever experienced?
Oh, yes.
Why? What's the difference?
Because they were shaking. They had just lost the presidential election in Lagos State. They saw that these people are coming out to vote for these people because they have hope. It's not about money. This young man is not sharing money for these people. These people believe in this person. They are going to come out. So that if it was a situation of who offers the most money, they will not have felt desperate because they have money, right? And they can step up to that table. When it's about quality, capacity, competence, integrity, they know that they cannot talk their way out of that. So they depend on propaganda, they depend on divide and rule, divide and conquer with all sorts of lies. But even lies and propaganda is one thing. It's violence. We buried about 5 people. Do you understand? I visited men that could not walk. They were
Because of the election?
Because of elections. Right? I saw a grown man in his 50s cry like a baby in front of his child because he wanted to go and vote, and people just saw him and attacked him. I've seen Yoruba people that speak Yoruba fluently, but because they look like they are going to vote for Labour Party, they were assaulted. So were stabbed, right? During the Navy Hospital, I saw people that were riddled with bullets, right? All because of all this desperation for power. So one must ask themselves, what are you so desperate about?
Okay, so speaking about desperation, a lot did happen, like you mentioned, in the past election. One of which was, which is not different from what has been happening before, towing the tribal line or ethnic line, as in where. But you were much more fingered in that ethnicity drive, to the extent that you were called an Igbo man, an Omo Igbo. In fact, they said you don't even understand Yoruba tradition. There were talks like that about you not understanding Yoruba tradition, about the fact that you're Igbo because your mom is Igbo and your wife is Igbo, and that you turned Lagos State to an Igbo land. How did that make you feel?
To be honest with you, I was not so surprised. Because
So you saw it coming?
We saw it coming to an extent, but obviously not to that level of lies, right? Because these people were spreading propaganda that my father don't mind my mother, that I was raised somewhere in Anambra, and because of my hate for my father, that's why I've come back to try and take over Lagos to sort of punish my father or something. I mean, the level that I saw grown, respectable men descend to out of desperation was shocking, right? I mean, people have been powerful so long. come and talk about what you've done. Go to a debate. You have a governor that was dodging debate as if he was dodging bullets.
Okay, so let's speak facts now. You are a coalition and Omoiko, as they will call it. That is that we can trace your genealogy to Lagos State.
You can trace my genealogy to before there was a Lagos.
Absolutely. But most of the people in the hems of affair in Lagos State right now cannot trace their genealogy to Lagos State.
No. They're probably first generation or second generation.
Absolutely.
You cannot point to any of their grandfather's houses that their grandfather or their great-grandfather bought in Lagos.
Absolutely.
And that's why there's a saying with this common parlance among Lagosians, Amorawa. Like, we know ourselves. Do you understand? From Badagry, we know ourselves in Badagry, all the way down to even Agege, to Lagos Island, to Ekpe, to Kodu. We know ourselves, right?
Okay, so understanding that you're a Lagos citizen and the fact that for the past 30 years thereabout, most of the people who have ruled Lagos State are not people who can really trace their genealogy to Lagos. How does that make you feel, especially when they try to water down your place, not just your place of birth, but your land of birth, and to go about the propaganda, just like you mentioned, just because they want to keep...
This is what I was trying to
How did that make you feel?
It's what I was trying to explain to you. When a group of people don't have a vision to sell, they sell division. It's consistent.
So you think it was deliberate sell of division?
Of course, it's deliberate. They don't have a vision to sell. If I have a vision to sell to you, I want to elevate your consciousness to that vision. So I'll spend time telling you about my vision. If I don't have a vision or any plan, meal plan for you, and I'm just there for my pocket, or what I'm going to steal, what I'll just focus on is dividing you people, making you hate this person, so you now knit your heads together. Ultimately, I win. I can spend 1.2 billion flying private jets. I can buy more Patek Philippe watches. I can do this. I can do that. That's what they are about. Now, I mean, and it goes back even to Agbaje. Agbaje, I don't know if you know his father or his grandfather. His pedigree and his history is unquestionable. Right? These are bankers that have been bankers before people started banking. Right? They were calling him Jimmy Chukwu. They were putting banners up and all of that. Now, I mean, and there's so much that was done, so much that was said during the election. Now, I always point to this. ABGA has put out Igbo candidates for governor of Lagos.
Absolutely.
Several times. That candidate did not get up to 5% of the votes. So if people want to take over your land, they will call themselves and say, let us vote for our
Even with the large population of Igbo in Lagos.
They'll say, come, let's get together and vote. Instead, they have always been nationalists. NCNC, right? In that election, they voted for Jimmy Agbaje, right? Okay. And Jimmy Agbaje is the son of Lagos. You cannot question that. Now, you have a situation where you look at Lagos State. They say they want to come and take over land and everything. The biggest looters of land are the APC and the people in power.
That's an accusation.
It's not an accusation. The Bodilon house, who does it belong to? It's Lagos State. It belongs to Lagos State.
So you're saying that the house that the current president owns as his own is a Lagos State property?
To Lagos State. You find that they've converted a lot of Lagos State assets, a lot of Lagos properties. Yes, this is common knowledge. Even
if you're sort of the soil saying this, I can't doubt you anyway, so it's okay.
Even TVC, the land is sitting on, these are things that belonged to Lagos State before. The new presidential mansion that they have in Lagos State, the former deputy governor's house, was at the part facing Queen's Drive, right? I mean, these are things we know. The First Lady, the New Era Foundation, opposite Amen Estate, that they just take it. Go and ask the indigenous of Ibejileki how much they settle them with. So wait. The point I'm trying to make is that we've had two Igbo administrators of Lagos State, right? Admirals, they were in the Navy. They are not the ones that took Lagos State access to themselves, right? So where is this coming from? This will buy lands, they develop it. They are not going at, look at all the demolitions that are happening across Lagos State. And it's not just demolition. Land appropriation happens after that. So when you go and listen to the Ekpe people, the Ikodu people, the Bejulep people, the Badagi people, and ask them, why are the people stealing their land? Stealing. It is these people that are in power. So when they sell all this boogeyman that, oh, the Igbo people want to take over, what it is that they know that when an indigene of Lagos, because no self-respecting person is going to see the looting of our Commonwealth and go and join the APC. as far as I'm concerned, right? So all the people that resist, from Funshaw Williams, that have been consistent, you see how they murdered him. So people that are resisting today, they know once they enter, all the monies that they've stolen, everything will be exposed to the public. That's where the desperation and fear comes from. Because if you are just in power to serve, you are not going to be using force to be beating and wounding the people you want to serve. It doesn't make sense. It's like a gardener, right? That's supposed to garden plants. It's going and using cutlass to kill all the plants. You must go, you must go, you must go. It's not normal. If you have a heart of service, you want to serve.
All right, so speaking about this whole ethnic thing now, and incidentally, most of the people siphoning this proposition you mentioned are Yorubas. You know that, right? Because there's been claimed that, there's this outcry or opera that, the Lagos state is a Yoruba land, and is welcoming to every indigenous, during election, that it's welcoming to every Yoruba indigene. You get me? Now, I like to ask, as a Yoruba indigene from Lagos State, I do not know if you can go to Ogun State to contest for election, where the present governor hails from and his deputy. Yeah. I don't know if you can go to Ekiti State. I don't know if you can go to Kwara, Osun, Ondo to contest for election. Do you feel bad that this, or do you feel a sort of way that people who don't hail from your fatherland come to your land, claim ownership of your land as a collective Yoruba land, but then again tries to disenfranchise other people, other Nigerians from that same land, because they're always the first to tell you, go to your state if you don't like it. Or because you're non-Yoruba, you cannot lay claim to Lagos like we lay claim to Lagos. Does that make you feel a sort of, because I've never seen, I have friends from Badagry, from Surulere, like you mentioned, core Lagos indigenous. They've never told me go to River State. But most times, other people who tell me, go back to your state, are people from Ogun State, other Yoruba lands. So does that make you feel a type of way that, people that are not even, are traced, that cannot trace their roots to my fatherland, can tell others that are cohabitants like them to leave the state, but even when the owner of the place cannot tell them to leave my fatherland? Does that make you feel a certain way?
So you need to dig into this deeply. One, and I thank God for Mbolaji Johnson, because he definitely fought to ensure that we Lagosians have a state that belongs to us. Lagos is not a vassal state. Lagos is not a conquered state. We have our kings in all our biliary regions, from the Oba of Lagos to the Akran of Badagry to the Ayogure of Ikorodu. We have all...
And they are called Lagosians.
And they are called Lagosians. These are people that most likely are descendants of our warriors. Their land, they are the Dejos, they are the land old
the
Egos in Badagry. Right, so these are indigenes of Lagos states. Now, the issue is you have a situation where, because the essence of Lagos as a coastal city, and one that's been dealing with foreigners and strangers, and if you know our history from the kidnapping, the slave trade, to colonization, to Lagos being Nigeria.
It's become cosmopolitan.
It's become very cosmopolitan. And a cosmopolitan state will always do better than a state that is closed off, because there will be more opportunities. That's why people come to Lagos.
Absolutely.
I mean, you cannot, if they are so crazy about a certain thing that they should replicate it.
I mean, they're saying that if you can't make it in Lagos, they can't make it anywhere else.
So those opportunities come with that. Now, the question is now, okay, so our closest proximate neighbor are Yorubas. Lagosians, aside from the blend, because you have the Benin blend, you have the Nupe blend, I mean, Oshodi Tapas, if you know their history, they're Nupe people. But we have all come and we know ourselves as Lagosians, right? Now, we want to be at the helm of affairs of our land. And because we know...
And you barely are.
Yes.
You haven't been for the past 30 years.
Yes. And because Lagos, and because we know the essence of what Lagos State is, we are not people that are pointing fingers and telling people to go back to your city. So it's a situation where you see the visitor in the house is screaming louder than the owner of the house, because that betrays an insecurity. Empty drums make the loudest.
That is nice. All right, because of time, let's move very quickly. The last election, one of the arguments a lot of people would have, including some part of the people in power, and I spoke with a lot of people who are incidentally Yorubas too. They did say that, well, he's a small boy, he's not ready. Don't even mention that. You come and ruin all the development we've had in Lagos State so far.
What
do you think?
development?
I was going to say. I was going to ask that question. Do you think Lagos has been properly managed in the past 10 years?
Watching, because this conversation is rushed and I know we don't have time, but these are very, very deep questions.
Okay.
That I cannot rush answers.
It's okay, so go ahead.
So you see, a lot of people, like I said, their grandfather did not build house here, right? A lot of them came with night bus to Lagos State, like a lot of people. So they don't know what Lagos used to be. So when they see small development, they think, oh, Lagos just was built. No.
Including the present politicians?
Yes. As far back as 1910, we were protesting when they increased our water rates. Do you understand what that means? By 1910, water was being delivered to people's houses, were being built. So they increased their rates and people came out on the road to protest. Right? That is the level of subscription we had already gotten. Go and look at the maps of Lagos State back as 1910, 1930s, 1940s. People were living well. Our system was organized. The quality of schools that were here were excellent. Right? The hospitals were excellent. At the time when you...
So it's always been an exposed and enlightened state.
It's exposed not just for several reasons. One, it was the coastal face of the Benin Kingdom.
Absolutely.
So there was a lot of people coming there for trade. Then you had the whole businesses coming set up because of the slave trade and other kind of trade. Then now became Nigeria, really. All the decisions in Nigeria were being made in Lagos, so it was that capital. Then we got independence, and then Lagos State was the capital. Right? So it has been the center focus for a lot of people, and the brightest minds have been here. Right? And created, at a point, a world-class city that was ranked among other cities. Not these economies that are second to the last. I'm talking about like 66 when you talk about cities. Right? So Lagos State has been Lagos. These people that are claiming they built Lagos, they are repairing damages that they've done. For instance now, the Minister of Commissioner of Environment talking about how they need to demolish now to make waterway. I posted a picture on my Twitter of them doing the McGregor waterway in 1910.
There's always been canals and waterways.
Yes, and they were channeling it. They are just giving the contract to channel System 1, which goes from Ojodu and Allen and goes through Mende and Maryland. In 2021 and 2022, they've not started it. We have not seen any building of it, 251 million, 258 million, right? But they say it's people that are preventive. We are watching. Let's see what they do.
I really would like to, before we take a break, when we come back from the break, right, I would really like to get your opinion on the demolitions in Lagos State. And especially because some areas that people think are also sitting on waterways like Dolphin Estate are yet to be touched. Is there a particular reason? That will be after the break. We'll be right back. Lagos, stay with us. You're welcome back to VOP TV Live, and of course, it's still a special interactive session with Madam Rhodes Vivour, the Labour Party's governorship candidate for the 2023 election. I will be looking at, looking at the 1 year after or 1 year post-election, what life has been, or so far so good as it were. And before we went on break, I did tell you that we're going to be talking about and looking at the demolitions. I'd like to pick your mind on the demolitions in Lagos State. What's your thought on them? And especially because some people are saying, there are some areas or pockets of other areas in Lagos State where you have the high and mighty living that is also perceived to sit on waterways, but they haven't been touched. I mentioned the Dolphin Estate, for example. I'd like to know what your thought is.
So the government is complicit in whatever it wants to call an illegality or illegal structure in the state. Why? Because the sheer list of documentation you must submit to get planning approval is significant, and they must approve it, right? And then aside from that, once you start building from your foundation, government sends somebody from local government, from Alausa, from the building authorities to come and inspect, right? And there's nobody that builds building in this Lagos City that will tell you that
the business gets rented.
When they built it for 6 months or a year, government never came to inspect. It's not possible. Even in the innermost part of any gated estate, they will find their way there. So for a building to have gotten to roof level, the government is complicit in whatever illegality that is challenging them for. That's the first thing. So for me, government must address this, understanding that they are complicit and they are part of the problem. You know, when you are part of the problem of something, there's a way you are going to handle it. They are going to handle it with humility, with empathy, and with sensitivity.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because you've done business with a developer. The developer has made money. They have sold that property on. He has gone. He's probably somewhere in America now. The innocent citizen that came and bought property, that got titles and documents, right, is the one whose house and whose life savings is being demolished. Government that can barely build affordable housing that is accessible to the majority of Lagosians is taking so much pleasure demolish. And then, when you understand that these waterways, if they have been channeled a long time ago, this government has been continuous in government for over 20-something years. 10 years ago, they could have channeled these things so that there will be no conversation.
Because they've been in power.
That is a canal, it's there. Nobody's going to come and build over it. Another thing, they've turned a blind eye to all their friends that have been sandfilling our wetlands.
Oh, you think they've been cherry picking?
Of course. Oh, I mean, look at all the states. In fact, I read last week that they've announced 5 new islands that they're going to sandfill to address the housing issue in Lagos State. Now, wait. The moment you start to sandfill a building, you have already set the price and the target market as very rich people that can afford expensive property. 70% of the Lagosians, people that live in this Lagos, cannot afford that kind of property. That's why we are seeing people living under the bridge, paying 250,000 naira. Rent. If you really want to solve housing problem, you go and build on solid land. We Latin Jacole did. So you can discount the price of land and bring the price of the property down. But you see that these people, they're just there, just see how they can make money, sell property amongst their friends, sandfill as much as they can, and charge a premium. So they are not solving the housing problem. So to your question, how I feel about it, I'm disgusted at the lack of empathy that the government has displayed, the sheer level of arrogance, considering how complicit they have been in creating this problem, right? So that's where I stand. I feel that the government should understand that they are complicit. They should have a transition program for these people to move out of the building, even if it's as little as, oh, we have moving vans to help you move your things. We have people that will help you move your things. We have temporary storage that can store your things because they are making people homeless.
So you think that governments have been punishing victims for their own government ineptitude?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, wow.
That's exactly what it is.
All right, so let's get straight to, the democratic dispensation in Lagos State. Or let's start with the governance of Sanwo-Olu. Let's streamline it to that. In the past 5 years, because I wouldn't call it the last 1 year, even though it's post-2023 election, he's been in office now for 5 years.
Yes.
As it were. What do you make of it? What's your...
I won't even say it's 5 years. I mean, it's they take pride in saying they have a continuity.
And they say Lagos has been working.
And they say Lagos is working. But I'm sure you understand the level of traffic that we're dealing with. And you see,
But it's a flagship state that sets the pace for other states. That's been the claim.
No, you see, this is the issue. And I keep going back to the history of Lagos. We must understand the history of Lagos. Lagos has had a lot of investment, a lot of interest, a lot of prominent people coming to invest in it.
So it's been positioned to be the way.
It's been positioned to be the
awesome. I want us to
There are no other states that have this kind of benefit. The only one that comes close to it is Abuja.
Established. Going back to my question now.
It's Abuja. So for me, we have a situation where you have a government that has not prioritized human capacity development. You have a government that is engaging in projects that are costing times 4, times 5 the price of what it should cost. You have a government that is spending money. I mean, you saw the scandal of the 2 billion they spent on fires. The governor came out and said that it was a typo. I'm sure you remember.
Of course I did.
I'm sure you saw when I highlighted from their own records, taking 200 million naira out to pay for his own personal legal fees.
Absolutely.
We have a situation where a governor is spending in a month 1.3 billion flying private. To do what? Right? Helicopters, there's that. Even if you want to supervise a project, you can use drones today. You can use drones. You have government that with all the software we are doing, they are spending 475 million on a car. And then after we complain, now use another 400 million to buy another 2 cars. Right? And these are just things that are just they spend money on a car. There are deeper things that you look at 3 billion on the school. You go and look at the school and you know that this thing not cost of 500 million, right? So my point is, a people or a group of gangsters and hooligans that force themselves on a people by virtue of violence.
Isn't that so much of a top water is?
I say I buried 5 people.
Okay.
I buried 5 people.
I apologize.
I've seen people with gunshots in their body. I've seen people hurt. Down the road in Oyo, Seyi Makinde did not need to use violence to win his election. In Oshu, Adeleke, yes, there might have been some skirmish and everything, but it was nothing like what we saw in Lagos. So when people import thugs, come and enact violence, and this is not body boys being emotional or sensitive. United States of America have said the same thing. European Union said the same thing. We have done documentaries showing all the people. I have receipts of all the hospital bills that I had to pay 1 month after election, all across the state, not in pockets, all across. Every local government had people that were hurt. Those are not civil people. Democracy is meant for civil people. People that are civilized. That's barbaric. You had an opportunity to come and sell your mandate. Tell us what you've done in the last 4 years. Show that this young man is inexperienced. Let us see what your experience has given us. You didn't. You didn't bother to show to 7 debates. Then we beat you in the presidential election. All of a sudden, you're now a hairdresser, you're an usher, you're repairing food, you're doing all sorts of things. Calling us come and debate you now. No, we didn't have time to debate him anymore. Right? So, again, if you don't have a vision to sell, you sell the vision and you use violence to implement it. But the only thing now is that they've set a very dangerous precedent.
Oh, wow.
Because human beings, our head is not meant to be broken. Or we are not, our body is not meant for someone to be beating us. And we have a right to vote. We have a right to vote. We have a right for our vote to be counted. If these barbarians think that democracy now is bureaucracy or togocracy, then we have seen them for what they are. And we now know the next kind of election that we must have. Do you understand? It's not going to be, we are not going to come to be talking about our manifestos and our debate moving forward, because we have understood that these people are not civilized people. They are barbarians.
And what does that make you if you join that?
It's not joining that. See, if you want to wash, if you want to clean something, your hand must get dirty. It's either that or we just surrender to a one-party state and put the death of Funshaw Williams happen in vain. All the people that stood up to come out to campaign in vain. Everybody that stood up. The history of Lagos. I mean, the rich democratic history of Lagos. Henry Carr, Malcolm, what's his name? Herbert Macaulay. Like debates, arguments, policy. That's what made Lagos what it is. You look at Lateef Jakande, right? And leaders that sold ideas and worked in integrity and served.
You think you've never had that in this present democracy?
I just give you an example. Lateef Jakande, Alhaji Lateef Jakande. Most of these people benefited from going to free school, Lateef Jakande schools, living in Jakande estates, getting treated in Jakande-built hospitals, all in 4.5 years. Right? Then you look at people like Bolaji Johnson, how he was able to get Lagos for us. This is our state. We have our history. We have our pedigree. We have our pride. This is where we get it from. I'm going to make that peace with everybody else that wanted to come Lagos to just literally be no man's land. People don't understand that it was in that first conversation with Bolaji Johnson that he came out to say Lagos is not a no man's land. And he was not talking to Igbo people. But every 4 years, they come up with this boogeyman. They'll create fake Igbo accounts or Twitter or something or Carrefour will write in one newspaper that Lagos is no man's land. And I don't know any Igbo person that will tell you Lagos is no man's land.
All right, so let's go back to this administration. Within the first term of the administration, 4 years, that's 5 years ago, he did show the creation of the Blue Railroad, and that was like a landmark achievement. Awesome.
I
was coming.
That's a failure. That's mediocre. No, we don't have.
Oh, we now have the red. This one now have the red road. The red rail.
The red
and
rail.
It's amazing. It's been like a flagship for transportation system in Nigeria. It's awesome. Other states are looking forward to, emulating that and ensuring that they...
I have to commend them because the red rail itself was laid by the federal government, right? So they got coaches. Yes.
Okay.
They got coaches that's going on the red rail. I believe, I'm not sure if they've started moving properly and all of that, but they've got coaches. They work with federal government to ensure right of way and all that. Fine. Good. But
is it enough to celebrate the 5 years of this of Sanwo-Olu's administration?
See, in my opinion, this government is in place for their pockets. When you look at how much the blue line cost on their document versus how much the contractor said it cost, is like times 10.
So you think that's
Projects are spending 3 billion to design the pathway for buses. 3 billion.
Ew.
This is money that you can get University of Lagos Architecture and Urban Planning Development, sit down with Harvard University, people come up together and do it as a collaboration with the government, and you get beautiful, innovative designs. I worked in China, that's what they did, right? They get the top people in your school and bring you with their own, you guys do projects for the government. They get beautiful designs at a fraction of the price. Innovative ideas. Oh, you're spending 3 billion to design a bus pathway. 3 billion.
So you think projects are inflated?
Heavily inflated. Listen, the 1.3 billion that Sanwo-Olu is using to fly private, right, can pay 1,000 teachers 100,000 naira, right, for the entire year.
Okay.
Now think about how much teachers are earning today.
All right. So let's look at the revenue, the IGR of Lagos State. It equates almost that of a couple of states or couple of countries within Africa generally. Quite huge and landmark. The best, of course, in Nigeria. Do you think that the development in Lagos State equates?
Of course not.
IGR.
Of course not.
Yeah,
and Tinubu has taken that idea to Abuja. Now he's taxing everybody as though he's president of Lagos. He doesn't understand the level of poverty that most of Nigeria is in, right? IGR, that you can take money from people, is not something that in itself we should clap for. It's what you can use that money to do. What's the quality of our schools, right? What's the quality of our teachers, our teacher training? What's the quality of our hospitals? How many people have access to healthcare insurance, right? What's the quality of our health human capacity development index, right? These are the conversations, not just, oh, we have money. Yes, that money is looking nice on our governor's wrist, right? It's looking nice on it.
Okay, so
it's looking nice to all the cars that they're buying for themselves, right? The money is looking nice there, but the money is not looking nice for the human beings and the people that even their own supporters are crying and complaining.
Okay. So let's look at the way these revenues are generated, for instance. You know that the concept of taxation and leadership is like entering a social contract.
Exactly.
And all of that. Do you think that the government has been able to live with the true tenets of that social contract?
Of course not.
In Lagos State? Not so.
Of course not. And Lagos, more than any other state that takes so much pride in taxation, has a social contract with the people. Margaret Thatcher said, you cannot overtax people more than they can bear and hope for a profitable state. You must use every single penny that is raised in the most efficient way that gives the people belief that these taxes they are paying are being utilized properly and can then elevate the quality of their life.
So still on taxation, in South Africa, for instance, you have a situation where 90 to 99% of their taxes come from their elites instead of, the poor, right? So much so that people whose salary in Nigerian currency equates that of, I think, 5 million naira per annum will be exempted for taxes because they are seen or perceived as those who are too poor to pay taxes. But in Nigeria, about 90 to 99% of the taxes are paid by the poor. So what's your thought on that, especially because Lagos State is one of the highly taxed states, as we mentioned?
I mean, the majority of people in Lagos are poor, though.
Oh, wow.
It's the truth.
So people are being taxed wrongly.
Well, it's the premise you set up. Yeah. South Africa has a number of people in the middle class. They have a middle class.
Do we have middle class in Nigeria?
No, I mean, it's been eroded. There's a lot of poverty that we're sitting in. So a huge amount of people in Lagos don't see up to 1.2 million a year. That's the truth. So anybody that's not seeing up to 50,000 naira a month is really struggling. Because when you consider how much it even costs to move around Lagos, then you pay for your lights, you try and live a decent life, and that's just one person. I'm not talking about people that have children, right? So there's a huge amount of poverty.
So you think it's fair enough that they are still paying taxes?
No. Okay. I do not believe in multiple taxation. That's one. But the bigger problem is, what are they using those taxes for? You look at the Nordic countries, they pay about 40-45% of their tax. But there's a cradle to grave system that's set up, right? You don't have to go to school and pay school fees, right? You have quality education. So no matter what you're earning or not, you know that your child will get the best education. My father tells me that when he was in Greg's, his father, who was a judge, that one driver's son, was in the same class with him. Can we do that now? The classes are so apart. Because now you need to spend so much money to get quality. You need to spend so much money to get good quality in healthcare. You need to spend so much money for a child to get good quality education.
All right, so I heard you mention a lot about Agbero and all of that during the governorship election. And one of the many things Lagos is known for is for the activities of the Agbero guys. Incidentally, they are tax collectors. Yeah. You know that. Now, tax are the kind of payments that you make, either willingly or unwillingly, as it were, but are compulsory payments that you remit to the state. And lots of people, in fact, an average pure water seller in Lagos is still pays tax by hook or crook.
A huge amount, for that matter, a huge amount. Like, if she has a tree on her sack, at least a quarter of that is going into tax.
All right. And then the normal bus driver gets to pay a lot of taxes, and by chance, people plying those bus transportation pay taxes because it's transported to them, it's over to them and all of that. What's your thought on the perhaps unremitted and unspecified taxes? These unremitted and unspecified taxes in Lagos, which have perhaps enriched a lot of people, because there's a perception or an insinuation that those taxes make up to, that from the Agbero guys and bus drivers, make up to almost over 10 billion naira.
Yes.
Yearly.
It's a huge amount of money. And you see, again, I go back to it. It's not so much about the taxes. It's what are they doing those taxes? Now, if those taxes were creating an education fund for everybody that's a member of that union, for their children to go to school, I will not complain. Why? Because you are giving those training foundation to propel off you standing on the road. So you are not going to raise new Agberos that are going to come and join the ones on the road. There's also a very problematic drug problem. If some of this money was used for drug rehabilitation, right, I will not complain. But people are just accumulating these monies, sending their own children abroad, while the majority of our young men are wasting their lives away on the street.
All right. So after this election now, it's been 1 year. What do you plan to do to continue to hold government accountable as an opposition?
Yes, it's what I've been doing. I've been doing it since week after the election.
And you continue like that?
And I will continue like that. See, I don't have any other states that I go home.
Do you fear for your life in sometimes, considering you mentioned likes of Fuchsia Williams and all that? Do you ever worry that what befell them may come to you?
Life is in the hand of God, right? And some things are worth fighting for. Okay. Some things are worth fighting for. And I feel that I do not want my grandchildren to look back at their heritage at Lagos and say, what were you doing? Well, how did you let this happen? See, Lagos State, there's an Almagirization of Lagos. The amount of people that are begging. Look at in Lagos. They said that people should come and collect rights, and people were stampeded to death. This is Lagos. It's not by mistake that Lagos was named the center of excellence. You see, the problem is the amount of people that know Lagos from like 1910, that the stories of Lagos on the 1800s have been passed down to them, are a small minority compared to people that just know in Lagos from 1999 or 1980. So people don't understand the excellence that we are coming from. I cannot imagine Herika or Herbert Macaulay or some of the Obas that we've had hearing that Lagos, things are so hard that people went to collect rice and were stampeded. This is where prosperity is, opportunities, right? If it is handled properly. But unfortunately, the wealth of Lagos is being hijacked by a group of people, by cabal. And the people of Lagos are not benefiting from it. And that's what we need to fight. We need to fight and make sure that the Commonwealth and the resources of Lagos are being enjoyed by the people.
And you said you're not stopping at that. So what's your expectation for Governor Sanwo-Olu's next 3 years in office and that of the president's next 3 to 7 years in office?
Like I said, you know, the way you start a thing is like His Excellency Peter Obi says, it cannot be called excellency without winning excellent.
Without the process that brings
without
government
process being excellent.
Yeah.
The way you start a thing says a lot. That's why people can just demolish like this and not care. I mean, the people that were beating you to win, is this when they're in office that you think they will care? Right? So they are there for their pockets. They are there for themselves, their family.
So you're not expecting any positive change from them? From this administration?
I see, honestly, I believe that Babajide Sanwo-Olu is possibly a very good man. But the system is, even if he wanted to deliver, he cannot deliver. You saw how helpless he was with answers. He couldn't even answer, he gave the order. Most likely it wasn't him. Most likely it was his godfather. Right? There is a reason why Alpha Beta is still collecting the money that they are collecting, and we have children in Lagos sitting down on the ground in school. Right? The reason why we're not paying our doctors properly. Meanwhile, so much money, so many lands are being taken by this same cabal. So, all we are fighting for is, Lagos State, by rule of thumb, houses 10% of the population of Nigeria. Yeah. As the population of Nigeria is growing to about 400 million, our population most likely increasing. We have a lot of young people. We have a very young population. Some of the youngest around in the world.
You have to be young and vibrant to be in Lagos State or to survive Lagos, right?
And even just in Nigeria, we have a very youthful population.
Absolutely.
These young people must have something to do. There must be a productive economy that they can plug into. And to create a productive economy, you must use your resources properly to create an enabling environment. If you cannot do that, you're just going to further pauperize people. But the problem is, our political elite currently, they like the fact that there are so many poor people. They like the fact that there are so many young people on drugs that they can use every time it's time for it.
So you think that there is a deliberate importance?
It is deliberate. It's deliberate. Because when people can think, when people can read and think and understand and look at things and are enlightened, they'll make better decisions. And those decisions will not be collecting 3,000 naira every 4 years.
So you are basically unexpectant about this government in the nearest future. A quick thought of what President Tinubu's 1 year in office has been like so far.
I mean, as the saying goes, as it is in Lagos, so we are seeing at the federal government. I mean, you have a situation where policy flip-flops, policies are inconsistent. You are giving coastal road contracts without a proper competitive process to get it.
Do you think that was very highly inflated?
Of course it's highly inflated. We cannot
You're an architect, though. That's why I asked that question. Even though you're not a civil engineer, but you may have an idea.
We cannot even let us say I'm biased. We cannot even know whether it's inflated because they don't go through the proper process. So at least get other bids from Julius Berger, for instance, from other construction companies.
They say this particular group understands our waters and they can quell them on the water.
It's not about just that. It's about what is the value that we are getting for the money that we are spending, and why should we spend that amount of money? We have so many inner roads that are problematic. They have so many farmers that cannot bring food down to Lagos because of all the bad inner roads that they have to deal with. The food spoils before it gets here, right? And that's what's also causing food inflation.
Absolutely.
Inflation in terms of
insecurity too.
Causing insecurity as well. These are roads that we can sort out. But now imagine if we knew that we're getting the best price for this coastal road, and we have money in that trillion to use for some of these inner roads and focus on farm to urban centers, right? That's a major project that will yield results very quickly, and the people will feel it.
All right.
Because the government will be able to say that this roads now, we expect that we can even create a trucking system that's moving food efficiently directly from the farm to the urban centers, and thereby put a discount on food.
All right, so on a ratio of 10, would you simply rate President Tinubu's 1 year in office on a ratio of 10?
With the level of suffering that my people are dealing with, I'll give it a 3 over 10.
Ouch, 3. Awesome. Where would that 3 come from, though? It didn't sound like you'd be nice enough to give 3.
I'll give 3 because, well, they were able to, it's not him directly, but the PIB, that case that they were dealing with in England, where we got the positive judgments in our favor.
That's not during Muhammad Buhari's administration.
I know, but it's crystallized in this government. So I'm happy. I don't want my country wasting from the small resources that we have.
You're still looking for the good thing to give the 3.
I'm looking. I just don't want to be.
They don't light at that end of the tunnel for that 3.
I don't want to be I don't want to come across as overly harsh.
Okay.
Right. I think that's one good thing that I read that I was happy about. You see, the problem with this government is there's a lot of propaganda and lies in that they're always quick to announce we have struck a deal with UAE and they'll start flying next week or next month, and then discover it's a lie. We've struck a $600 million deal with Maersk shipping. Maersk come out and say that's new to them.
Even though Seth Maersk were they shocked about the news.
So there's a lot of all of that, and so it's very difficult. I mean, you saw when they sent a huge delegation to Copper, and the conference.
Yes.
And
for climate change.
I don't see Nigeria even being a powerhouse in that. You don't even see the ideas. I mean, we should be talking about carbon banking, getting credits for our low emission. That should be, so you have highly technical people going to sell the idea that because we are not part of the major polluters of this planet, countries that are major polluters of the planet should be able to give us money, and we are going to ensure that this forest that we have will not be touched. So it's going to be carbon store.
So bottom line, you were just being generous with 3%. I'm
sure if I think hard, I'll be able to find.
Well, let's have you rate Sanwo-Olu's administration, at least within the past 1 year of his second term.
I think I can give them a 4.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll give them a 4.
Because of the real...
I'll give them a 4 because opposition put so much pressure on this government about that blue line. It was our talking point. We went in, and because for the first time they felt challenged, they felt they needed to do something, so they did that. There had been some talk about, automating, getting planning approval and planning permissions. It's talk now. I mean, for a place that takes so many years for you to get planning approval, and then they come out and tell you have a legal structure. I don't really know whether the one that is faster will have more credibility. But it's a good initiative, and it's something I'll do if or when, by God's grace, I'm governor of Lagos State. There was also an initiative that I saw by Loma, where they invited a lot of young people to come and learn about waste management and the process of
recycling.
And I felt that was very important. I always say, after our human capacity, the biggest resource we have is waste. And unfortunately, we've been wasting waste in this country, in this state. We just create landfills and dump sites when these things should be recycled, right? And you can generate quite a bit of wealth from that.
There's wealth in waste.
Yes. So that was also a positive initiative. And then on the cultural front, I've seen them make some moves in celebrating, even though it's a bit surface, it's not as deep as I would like. Yoruba history, Yoruba culture, and theater and arts. Some of that. And then also, you have to give them some kudos for the red line.
Okay.
In the sense that they worked with the federal government. They also had to do bridges and things like that. But the problem is that accounting is opaque. And I assure you that bridge that they give you, that one bridge, you could buy 3 or 4.
Oh, wow.
So-
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you being here. I do hope that you stop by whenever we call on you. Thank you. It's been quite an interesting conversation. I warned you before we started with the governorship candidates for Labour Party in the 2023 election. It's been quite an, engaging conversation. We do look forward to having him join us next time on VOP TV Live. My name is Precious A. Thank you for joining us. Good day.
Hi, my name is Rhodes Vivour, Labour Party governorship candidate in 2020 elections, and I want you to keep watching Voice of the People VOP TV.